Hey y'all, it's Jackie with VSG and PSA, and I haven't made a video in 3 weeks, mostly because I've been gone for a couple of weeks. I had shared that we were going on a 9-night cruise for my husband and I to celebrate our 25th anniversary. Just wanted to check in because this is, I guess, would be considered my week 21, 22, and 23. Plus my 5-month surgaversary video. So that's where we are. And in this video, I just want to share with you guys my experience about going on a cruise post VSG and how that worked. And then at the end, I'll post some pictures and maybe some video snippets of our trip because we had a really great time. So we'll start now with the weight loss stuff, like the stats. So my name is Jackie. I had vertical sleeve gastrectomy on April 27th, 2018 with Dr. Dustin Bermudez at Rex Bariatrics in Raleigh, North Carolina. My highest weight ever was 228. My weight day of surgery was 208. And last time I made a video and I weighed myself, I was my week 20 update, and I was 162.6, which was great. And I had hit several milestones. I had hit, over 64 pounds lost. I also was at a BMI that was no longer obese, which is great. And then so for my weeks 20 and 21, yeah, I didn't weigh myself because I was on a cruise ship on the Friday of week 21, and I was on a cruise ship on Friday of week 22. And so today is Friday of week 23. And then in between those 2 weeks that I was out, I also have my 5-month surgaversary. So in lieu of my standard 5 monthly pictures that I do, the side-by-sides with the same outfit, I'm going to skip that. I'm going to save that for 6 months, and hopefully they'll see a really big difference. But instead, as I said previously, I'll include some pictures from the cruise because I got to wear some fun, different clothes. Some of it I bought in a department store. Some of them I bought at Goodwill, but it was fun. And for the first time in I don't know how long, I want to say probably, I don't know, it's the first time I've been comfortable in my own skin and comfortable in clothing in, I don't know, 25 years or more. So that's that. I'm rambling. So let me just tell you where I am now. So went on the cruise and I was 162.6. It is 2.5 to 3 weeks later, and I am currently 162.6. Yay! Does that mean I didn't gain weight? No! So let's be honest. I had shared with you guys before that we've taken 4 other cruises before this one. 4 other cruises. And on none of those cruises did I actually gain weight. Now, I was already at maximum density on those anyway, so, you know, maybe my body had said, you know, no more. But I never really gained weight on a cruise. And so I was hoping that that might be the case with this one, given that I have this restricted smaller stomach and everything. That was not the case because on those cruises, I had not also altered greatly my diet. I had not so drastically altered and restricted my caloric intake. I had also not I was still drinking alcohol, especially on a cruise ship. I had alcohol every single day in the past. And so, I have been off of everything and under 800, maybe 850 calories maximum a day, at the most that I've had on any given day since surgery. Just a lot of restrictions, a lot of being in that bariatric focus, weight loss focus world, and then with exercise and everything. And then I go on a cruise ship. Now, we love cruising. If you told me I had to get back on one tomorrow, I'd do it in a heartbeat. And my husband actually said the same thing to me the other day. When you go on vacation and, you say, okay, I've been there, I don't need to go back. He goes, yeah, I don't feel that way. You can put me back on a cruise ship today. So we really just do enjoy it. I don't know why we enjoy it so much, but well, I do know why, but we'll save that for another video if anybody has interest and have never been on a cruise. Happy to share that. If you have any questions, you can put them in the comments, and I'm happy to talk about that. But I will tell you that I knew that, one, this is a huge celebration, right? 25 years of marriage, that's a big milestone to my first and only husband. So that's a big milestone. And then 2, I knew I was going to allow myself some freedom, and I was going to allow myself to splurge a little bit. But with the added help of having this smaller stomach and pouch, and so I could only eat so much. But I did tell myself, up until this point, I'd had 0 alcohol since I had my surgery, so 4.5, almost 5 months exactly since I'd had 0 alcohol. 0 any other kind of beverage but water. So I don't really drink tea. I never drank coffee. I hate coffee. I don't even understand the whole coffee culture. I think I have a missing gene when it comes to that. But anyway, totally another story there too. But I used to drink, I was a soda drinker, but I hadn't had soda in 6 or 8 months. So anyway, I went on the cruise saying I was going to indulge a little bit. And so I did. Now, I made a note of kind of things that I did do that were out of the norm. One was the alcohol. So I had either a glass of wine or a margarita or a beer or something like that every single day. So it was a 9-night cruise, so 10 days. Starting at the airport. Did I have a drink at the airport? I know my husband had a beer. I didn't actually. I think I had water. So scratch that. I think I had a glass of wine that evening once we got into Newark, because we flew into Newark, New Jersey, and then got on a ship that went out of Cape Liberty is what it's called there in Bayonne, New Jersey, but it's really just, right across from New York City. But anyway, so I had a glass of wine that evening, and we can talk about the effects of alcohol. If I don't go too long, I'll share that at the end of this too, because I found it very interesting how alcohol was. So I did not binge drink. I did not overdrink. I did not, do anything like that. But I did have alcohol every single day, and I probably had, I want to say 1 to 2 drinks. And what was interesting and what I observed from that, which we already know, is how alcohol dehydrates your body. And that was a huge difference, I think, on this trip. I would think 1 was the addition of alcoholic beverages, and then 2, the fact that I wasn't drinking as much water, despite the fact that I had a beverage in front of me, or I always had water with me. But we did so many excursions where we were walking long distances. Like we did 15 to 20,000 steps a day easily when we toured Boston, when we toured Bar Harbor, when we toured Portland, Maine. Did we walk around? We didn't walk around Halifax much, but we walked around Halifax. We didn't walk around St. John very much. But anyway, so we had, 5 days of excursions. And then when we were on the ship on our 3 different sea days, I walked a lot. Even my husband would say, we go down to deck 5 from deck 12 where our cabin was, I would walk it. And vice versa. If we were on deck 3 and my husband said he was going to get the elevator, I said, I'm walking it. And sometimes by the time I got to the 12th floor, I had stopped on a couple of landings and caught my breath. But for the most part, I was quick up. All my walking every morning has really helped my stamina from that. So I did a ton of walking on this trip, yet I still gained 5 pounds, because what I did was I weighed myself the day I got back. So we got back, we took an Amtrak train. I know I'm rambling really fast here. We took an Amtrak train there, so it was like planes, trains, and automobiles. We flew up to Newark. We got on a ship for 9 days, and or 9 nights. On the 10th day, we got off the ship. We took an Uber to the Newark, New Jersey Penn Station, not to be confused with New York's Penn Station. And we took a 10.5-hour Amtrak back to our town in North Carolina. So it was really fun. It was an adventure. We loved it. But we got back that evening, and the next morning I weighed myself. And at first I had told myself and my husband, I'm not going to weigh myself for a week. I just know I'm not going to weigh myself. But I couldn't resist. I'm a little bit of a scale addict, not in an obsessive, crazy way, but I do weigh myself every single day. At the same time every single day, after I've used the bathroom, first thing in the morning with no clothes on. Anyway, TMI. So I did that, and the scale was up 5 pounds. So I was at 166 something, and I had left at 161. So I don't think I told you guys that. My week 20 weight was 162. My goal before the trip was to be down to 160 pounds, and I got down the day we left to 161.6. So I was really proud of myself. I was only 1.5 pounds over my goal. That was huge to me. That was awesome. Because that was a bit of a stretch goal for me. Because I was also doing a lot of exercise, and I knew I was adding muscle, so I didn't want to make it an unreasonable goal. But anyway, long and short of it is, so I knew for a fact that when I left on that Wednesday that I was 161, and when I got back it was 166. So I had gained 5 pounds. However, I will tell you that the reason I am, today on my week 23 update back down to what I was at my 120, 162.6, is that I lost 4 of those in 4 days. So very quickly I got back on track. So that's kind of the good news piece of this, is that Well, the good news is that I had a great trip and I indulged. So, so the good news again is that I enjoyed myself. I ate I made a note here. On the ship, I ate very little. I ate like almost no bread. Like they had bread at every meal and everything, but they're these hard rolls. If it had been fresh, warm bread out of the oven, I probably wouldn't have been able to resist it and I probably would have eaten it. But these were like hard kind of rolls and I'm like, that's just filler food. I don't need that. I tasted a dessert every single night, but I'm talking one time I tasted, it wasn't even a teaspoon of creme brulee. And I was like, I don't really need that. So I didn't eat it. Oftentimes, every night they had a no sugar added option of a dessert, and I would usually order that one and eat a very tiny portion of it because it's after I'd already had like an appetizer of a salad or a soup or something like that. And then I would have my main course, which is usually meat, salmon, or steak, or something like that, or prime rib, which I would also only eat about half of. I was really good at dinner. And then for breakfast, I had big breakfast. That was probably part of the weight gain too, because today at home every day, I have a protein shake, either a pre-made Premier or I make my own green smoothie. And they're never more than like 160 calories total. Well, I would have a fresh made omelet every morning for breakfast. I would have a couple of pieces of bacon every morning for breakfast. I abstained from the hash browns probably, I would say 90% of the time. I mean, I had a couple bites a couple times, but otherwise, meh. And then for lunches, we would go to the buffet or we would be out on an excursion. So we would have a sandwich or something somewhere. That's where I would actually encounter bread. But I could only eat half of it. I mean, I was in New England. You know, I had lobster rolls. I could learn how to say the lobster in Bahaba. And so we had butter covered, amazingly bread filled lobster rolls that were just, I'm telling you what, it's a good thing I don't live up there. One, because they were crazy expensive. Granted, we were in touristy towns. They were crazy expensive. But some of the most delicious lobster I've ever had in my life. And I've had lobster lots of different places across this country. Really, really good. Including in Seattle, including, you know, here, including Florida, including the Caribbean. And it was probably the best. I mean, they're not joking when they're talking about Maine lobster. It's really, really good. So we had lobster rolls. We had lobster mac and cheese, not mac and cheese, grilled cheese sandwiches with avocado and bacon. I can only eat half of it, but it was so good. And probably if I had been home, I would not even have had that large of a portion. So portion sizes were larger, volume of food was larger, I had a little bit more water, then I had alcohol on top of that, and then, dang, these cruise ships, they had these cookies, okay? They had these oatmeal raisin cookies, which is my favorite cookie in the world, even though I never make them. I make chocolate chip because I know I won't eat them as much, and my kids love my chocolate chip cookies. Everybody loves my chocolate chip cookies. They're really good. But these oatmeal raisin cookies were to die for. And of course they have this massive, you know, thing of them that are made all day long and included in the price with your cruise locations across the ship. Yeah, I probably averaged 4 oatmeal raisin cookies a day minimum. That's probably me trying not to look like too much of a glutton when I tell you that I had at least 4. We actually grabbed some and stuck them in a Ziploc baggie the last night and brought them home. I also ate a whoopie pie, had never had any such creature as a whoopie pie when we were in Bar Harbor, and just about fell over. I was so in love with this thing. This, if you've never had this is like, it was a blueberry lemon whoopie pie. And I've already looked up a recipe to make them, which is horrible to think that I would actually make them, but I want the rest of my family to have it because this was like a religious experience, this whoopie pie. Between the lobster roll and the whoopie pie, I would go back to Bar Harbor and spend 2 weeks there today. I would have no problem going back to that part of the country. I'd have to save up a lot of money because, again, it's a touristy town and it's expensive treats, but whew, loved it. Loved that area. Could never be up there in the cold. Cannot handle cold weather. If it got below 60, I'd probably lose my mind. Beautiful. Couldn't say enough about it. Anyway, so you put all of those factors that I just larfed up on this video to say it's shocking that I did not gain more than 5 pounds. My husband will tell you he gained way more than 5. I mean, he gained, I think he told me 10. But he's lost almost all of it as well. So I'm proud of us that we indulged, but didn't overindulge to the point that it was like making ourselves sick or anything or being obnoxious about it. We had a great time. We did not put a lot of pressure on ourselves and worry about that kind of stuff at all. I didn't think about the scale. I didn't think about anything, really. I mean, thank God for VSG because it kept my volume of food in check. And so, you know, there was a lot of times, in fact, our waiters, every single night they made comments. You know, these are the only people that my entire journey here where I've gone out to eat with friends or anybody, nobody has made a comment about how little I eat or why did you leave so much food on your plate? None of that. No one has made a comment except for these waiters who, I guess, are used to seeing the people come on these cruise ships and just pig out and glutton out. And I was pushing away 3/4 of a steak. I was pushing, never, in fact, a couple times I said, can you just put the piece of meat on a plate with the veg? Please don't put, you know, anything. And they quit bringing bread to our table because we weren't eating it. And I was feeling guilty. I'm like, please, can you just not waste this on us? Neither one of us were eating the bread and stuff. We just didn't want to fill ourselves with that kind of stuff. So, but our waiter, Neil, who is a very sweet guy from the Philippines, kept saying, are you sure you don't want anything else? And I kept saying, no, I'm fine. And I did not feel like I needed to disclose to this person that I had had surgery. I just looked like one of those diminutive, demure, thinner people who didn't overeat. But he also didn't know about my cookie habit, so, or my whoopie pie, or my lobster roll habit. So anyway, I kept Neil in the dark in those regards. But anyway, had a great trip, like I said, lost the weight, I mean, gained the weight, but then have lost it. And then I'm really proud of myself for getting back on track. The detox from sugar, however, let me just make a comment about that real quickly. Dang, or as the Tim Tracker would say, ding dang. I did not remember what it was like to detox from sugar. I should have, because I've done it several times in my life, most of the times failing in that weight loss endeavor that was tied to that, this time thankfully being successful. But I noticed there was a distinct, there was like the triple whammy. I come back from that trip on late on a Saturday night, like we got home after 11 p.m. I immediately went into full bariatric, you know, back in the saddle mode on that Sunday. I start back to work after having 10 days off of work on a Monday. And, you know, going through the detox of sugar. So I was like a roller coaster mood-wise. This is how insidious sugar is. I was so up and down, like a point, like near tears at one point over stupid stuff. I'm like, what is my deal? And I'm like that. You know, I may be menopausal, but I'm not like, well, if my husband sees this, he may make a comment and disagree. But I'm not usually that, you know, high and low. I'm never, like, I'm not somebody who's necessarily, like, always even. I go up quickly, but I go back to normal quickly. I don't usually go below normal quickly. Like, I don't go into deep holes, praise God, because I can't. I'm way too optimistic, glass half full kind of person. If I focus too deep, I just go down a dark tunnel that I never want to ever experience. So I always stay above kind of the stable line. But the first 3 days of this week, I was all over the place. And it dawned on me the second day. I looked at my husband and I said, this is sugar detox. That's what this is. And it wasn't fun, but I'm so glad that it was the fastest sugar detox I've ever had to go through. One, because I massively ramped my water back up. I was back to 60 plus ounces of water a day. I was back to the basic small, you know, breakfast, the smoothie breakfast or the protein shake breakfast. Even had protein shake dinner one night because it was late and I had appointments to go to and stuff. And so I didn't even have dinner until late. So I did a protein shake, or I did tuna. So anyway, it was a great experience. So for those of you who may be afraid, I mean, again, I was already almost 5 months out. I had already had a lot of great success. I went into my vacation with the mindset of knowing what to expect and what I expected of myself and what I expected of the environment. So I was familiar with it. And I also am just so proud of myself, honestly, for being able to get back on track that fast. To me, that's not a typical Jackie thing. Normally I would have slow rolled through it and thought about it, but no, I'm back on track. So it's good. it's all goodness. And then I went and saw my rheumatologist, because I do have, my channel is called VSG and PSA because I have psoriatic arthritis, and saw my rheumatologist and had not seen him since I mentioned to him 7 months ago that I was contemplating bariatric surgery. So he hadn't seen me. And so I show up and he's like, whoa, you've made some changes. Did you have the surgery? I said, yes, I did. And I told him about my trip and everything else. And he's like, I don't need to see you for a year. You're doing great. I'm on a particular medication that is keeping me extremely stable. My joints are not degenerating. He made some recommendations for me about, I told him I was interested in yoga and doing some strength training. He actually recommended that I go do Tai Chi instead of yoga. And so I'm really excited because my daughter said she was going to do it with me. And there's tons of YouTube beginner channels for Tai Chi. And it has the same, according to him, it has the same meditative and balance effects and stretching and movement, but without the pressure that I would be putting on my joints, especially my wrists and hips and feet where I already have, and elbows where I already have a lot of joint degeneration. So I feel like I've been talking a mile a minute. I'm so sorry. So I'm going to start moving into some Tai Chi and also the recumbent bike. When I mentioned to him about how much I hate the treadmill, he's like, well, no wonder. Every time you take a step on the treadmill, you've got that opposing force that immediately pushes your knee back. No wonder your knees are killing you and your hips are bothering you. And so I'm looking into, I did the recumbent bike at my company's gym yesterday. I didn't love it because I don't know, it was hard to get used to. So I'm thinking about getting one for myself. So if anybody has any recommendations, there's one at Costco. It's not cheap, but it's supposed to be one of the best on there. And all the reviews are people who talk about how they have knee and joint issues, and they find that this has been one of the better bikes they've ever been on. So that's why I'm looking at that particular one. I can't remember the brand. I think it's called Xterra. But if anybody has ever used, you know, a stationary recumbent bike with the flywheel, and has any opinions, I'd love to hear on them. So anyway, so that's about it for my, whatever, week 23, but also 5-month surgaversary. I'll post pictures and maybe some video from our trip. I hope you guys are doing great, and we'll see you soon. Bye.